Hello. Today we will tell you about the rarest diseases in the world modern medicine is developing. And now many diseases that were previously considered incurable are successfully amenable to correction and therapy. However, there are still a number of physical and mental illnesses in the world that are difficult to treat. Many of them are extremely rare. Morgellons disease. In 2002, American doctors officially registered the rare Morgellon disease for the first time. When it develops, the patient feels as if nasty small insects are running around under his skin. On the one hand, the clinical manifestations of the disease strongly resemble the classic psychosis observed in some forms of schizophrenia. However, on the other hand, during an objective examination, injuries really appeared on the skin of patients, and the muscles cramped. The overwhelming majority of patients said that some worms or strange fibers penetrate into the depths of their skin. Previously, researchers thought that pathology could be caused by rare mutagenic fungi that can survive in any situation. Over time, the fungal nature of Morgellons disease was not confirmed, and in 2012 the opinion was finally confirmed among doctors that the phenomenon has a psychogenic origin. Hutchinson's disease. Progeria, or Hutchinson's disease, is one of the most famous rare diseases due to congenital genetic abnormalities. The body of a small child begins to age at a tremendous rate. At the same time, his psychological development remains, as it should be, at the child level. The appearance of the child becomes characteristic of the disease. When he turns 2 or 3 years old, he is diagnosed with a serious growth lag, loss of skin elasticity, lack of hair, and secondary sexual characteristics. Veins appear on thin and pale skin. Progeria occurs 2 times more often in boys than in girls. Approximately 80 people with this pathology are officially registered around the world. Death from progeria occurs at the age of 10 to 13. But there are cases when patients live up to 27 to 30 years. In Japan, a kind of record was set when a person lived to 45 years and died of progressive heart failure. Temporary blindness. Another rare disease was registered in an Australian Natalie Adler, who lives in Melbourne. A young girl suffers from temporary blindness. It is expressed in the fact that the patient periodically cannot open her eyes due to severe spasms of the eye muscles. The phenomenon of the girl is cyclical and repeats once every 3 days. Natalie says that this happened to her for the first time after she suffered severe sinusitis with complications of staphylococcal nature. Since doctors can't help her heal yet, she plans all her affairs in such a way as to do all the most important things before the next spasm. Pemphigus. Many people are aware of an unpleasant and painful skin disease called pemphigus. Its most severe varieties are of autoimmune origin. In other words, human lymphocytes attack normal healthy cells. Paraneoplastic pemphigus is the most dangerous of all such cases known to science. In this case, the patient's immunity begins to attack the cell's keratinocytes. Keratinocytes make up most of the skin. During a severe autoimmune reaction, hollow formations appear in the layers of the skin. They are quickly filled with liquid, as a result of which large and moist bubbles appear, often of huge sizes. They are the entrance gate for all infections that exist in the environment. Paraneoplastic pemphigus is severe, and about 90% of patients die soon due to sepsis, blood poisoning, or respiratory failure. Fishy smell syndrome. Sometimes you can meet people who give off an unpleasant smell of rotten fish. The disease is called fish smell syndrome, scientifically trimethylaminuria. This is a genetic pathology resulting from a mutation of the FMO3 gene. If the activity of a certain part of the gene is disrupted, the human liver cannot transform trimethylamines, substances with a pungent odor, into neutral oxides. There is a gradual accumulation of odorous substances in the patient's body, and when there are too many of them, they come out through the skin and sweat. The patient often does not feel this smell, but for other people the fishy spirit becomes simply unbearable, and they try to stay away from the source of the stench. Doctors still do not know how to help such patients, because it is not yet possible to fix a defective gene. Nevertheless, there are several recommendations that can at least partially alleviate the condition of these people. They are advised not to eat eggs, cabbage, soy and bean products. You should drink activated charcoal tablets daily, and of course, take a bath or shower more often. Insensitivity to pain, another rare genetic disease. Expressed an absolute or partial insensitivity to pain, has been registered in several hundred people around the globe for the first time. Pathology manifests itself in children under the age of 2. In some patients, the phenomenon may disappear or be reduced as they grow older. But there are cases when the symptoms are completely preserved in adults. The most famous case of congenital analgia is described in the Pete brothers from the USA. Since childhood, they have not felt pain, which was associated with constant dangers that arise during injuries, with fractures, diseases. Children did not feel the signals coming from the body because they simply did not exist. Steve says that it is very difficult and dangerous to live with such a diagnosis, because it is often not possible to recognize and cure a dangerous disease in time. It develops, progresses, but there is no pain. Pathological insomnia. It turns out that insomnia can also die if we are talking about a hereditary disease. One of the first cases was registered by doctors in the late 70s of the last century. A doctor from Italy, Dr. Reuter, was trying to understand why two relatives of his wife died from symptoms of extreme exhaustion of the body. After conducting his own investigation, he found several more similar cases in the pedigree of women, which made him think about the hereditary nature of the disease. In 1984, another close relative of the doctor died from pathological insomnia. Sometime later, in the 90s, scientists officially established that the cause of such insomnia lies in the mutagenic processes of the 20th chromosome. As a result of complex and incorrect protein reactions in the brain, a gradual accumulation of substances occurs, because of which a person cannot sleep. These substances are concentrated just in the parts of the brain responsible for sleep. The duration of the disease can range from 6 months to several years. At first, paranoid ideas and thoughts appear in the patient, and closer to the fatal outcome, reactions to stimuli coming from the outside world gradually fade away. Alice in Wonderland syndrome. Completing the list of rare diseases is the so-called Alice in Wonderland syndrome, AIDS, which was discovered in 1955. This name was given to the syndrome by the British psychiatrist John Todd because the symptoms of the disease reminded him of the body changes that occur with the main character of the famous novel by Lewis Carroll. The most noticeable and disturbing symptom is a change in the body image when the patient does not understand its size and shape. As a rule, it concerns the hands and head. Distortion of visual perception is considered to be the next symptom, in which the patient sees objects of the wrong size or shape. This means that everything around seems smaller or larger than it really is. Such patients are also unable to perceive distance normally. For example, a small corridor may seem very long and vice versa. Other symptoms include a distorted perception of time, sound, and touching anything. So, some patients lose the ground under their feet and cannot identify objects by touch. There is no AIDS treatment, and researchers cannot understand what exactly is the cause of this disease. Allergy to water. Aquagenic urticaria is a disease in which any skin contact with water, even with one's own sweat, brings suffering to patients. An allergic reaction occurs even to distilled water purified from any impurities. Drinking water is very painful. You have to drink milk. The body does not react to it so much. Taking a bath turns into a hell of a torture, as well as leaving the house in rainy or snowy weather. Allergy to water occurs in about 1 person out of 230 million. In 2017, scientists were aware of 32 aquallergics. For example, the British Rachel Warwick, who was diagnosed with aquagenic urticaria at the age of 12. The disease manifested itself after a visit to a public swimming pool. The girl admitted that it is quite possible to survive with the syndrome, but there can be no talk of a full life. All she dreams about is dancing in the rain or swimming in the lake. The described diseases can benefit humanity by contributing to the development of new drugs and further medical progress. Ultimately, there are many diseases unknown to science. which we will be able to learn about in the coming decades. Let's hope that in the future experts will be able to treat and prevent a variety of diseases. Subscribe to the channel to learn more with us. Put a like if you like videos of this format. See you in the new video.